I'm Thomas DeLauer with SixPackAbs.com, and today I want to help you understand how fructose is metabolized and how fruit is metabolized when it comes down to trying to cleanse your liver. Okay, here's the thing. There are a lot of different ways to help your liver out. But quite honestly, there's so much mainstream nonsense out there trying to lead us to believe that if we consume a ridiculous amount of juice, that we're going to be able to help our liver out. So what I want to do in this video is truly give you an understanding of what is happening inside your body when it comes down to consuming fruit, or at least excess amounts of fruit. You see, what we have to understand is fruit as a whole is pretty hard to break down. Okay, it's pretty hard for our system, it's pretty hard for our liver, and it's pretty hard as far as fructose and glucose metabolism goes. But when you take it a step further and you go to juice, you're really in a situation where you don't even have the fiber, you don't have any of the pectin, you don't have any of the actual mechanical structure that holds it together that's at least slowing down that sugar in the first place. Now, I'm going to go on record and say that fructose isn't bad. Okay, we can always use a little bit of it, but we have to remember that we're not really designed to be consuming as much as we generally take in the first place. We have to look at fruit consumption as what we would consume in our given geographic area when it's in season. You see, years and years and years ago, when we didn't have crazy ability to transport ourselves across the country or to different areas of the world, or to bring produce in from different areas of the world, we were confined to consume what we had in our geographic area when it was in season. So if you lived in an area where peaches are in season, you might have peaches for a few months out of the year, but you're not going to end up having some crazy Guatemalan fruit that you wouldn't have otherwise. So meaning we're really not designed to be consuming a lot of fruit throughout the period of the year. So what that means more specifically when it comes down to the liver is the liver doesn't have the ability to process that. And let me explain what happens. When you consume fruit, it has to go through a specific mechanism known as the active transport chain. And I've used this analogy before, but the active transport chain is like little miniature school buses, and they can only hold so much fructose at a given point in time. So fructose is the sugar that comes from fruit. And these little buses, these little transport vehicles, can only carry a few grams of it at a time. If you consume too much, then the buses can't carry it, and it ends up getting stored as fat. But what ends up happening is the fructose that you do take in has to get metabolized through the liver. It has to be processed there, and it can only be stored in the liver. Normally, regular carbohydrates can be stored in your muscles and they can be stored in your liver. But the sugar or the carbohydrate that comes from fruit can only be stored in your liver. This means you have a finite amount of space that you can actually store that fructose in. And what happens when you have too much that your liver can't handle? Well, a process called lipogenesis kicks in. This lipogenesis process is where that sugar is turned into fat, and it's turned into small little lipid droplets that are stored right there in your liver. It's not like your liver turns them into fat and then stores them other places. It does that too, but predominantly it stores it right there in the liver. And what that ends up doing is it ends up signaling the liver to signal all kinds of different mediators out to the body, different inflammatory mediators, which means the fatty liver that you're developing from consuming sugar doesn't just affect the liver. It affects the liver's ability to communicate with the brain, it affects the liver's ability to communicate with the gut, the nervous system, and you name it. So you're doing a lot more damage to your body than you thought. So in an effort to try to cleanse yourself by consuming juices, by doing a juice cleanse or anything like that, you're giving your body only the juices that are contributing to a fatty liver. And I don't know if you know this, but a non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is created by too much sugar and too much fructose. Then an alcoholic fatty liver is very, very similar. There's barely any difference between a non-alcoholic fatty liver and a traditional alcoholic fatty liver. The only differences between them are the different molecular weights and how the biochemical process occurs. But in short, the effect on the liver is still the same. You're still putting the liver in a totally impaired state where it can't process things nearly as well. So I guess in short, the irony of it is you're trying to cleanse, but you're also doing the damage that you would normally incur from drinking alcohol. So I talk to a lot of people that drink a lot. And when they drink a lot, of course, they're contributing to all kinds of different damage to their liver if they're not taking care of themselves. So I know a number of people that in an effort to try to cleanse out their liver from drinking, they'll go on juice cleanses. But the reality is they quite literally could be doing more damage by consuming those high amounts of fructose than they would be by just drinking in the first place. Now, I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying that we're in a situation where we're trying to combat one thing, but we're creating an even worse situation. So what do you do? What is the best way to start detoxing your liver, to cleanse your liver? Well, the vitamins, the minerals, the antioxidants you get from fruit and from veggies are powerful. We still want those. We just want them in a non-fructose form or a low fructose form. So I opt for choosing low glycemic berries. So things like raspberries, things like strawberries, things like blueberries. They don't have a high sugar content. You can get away with consuming a lot more of them, but consume them in their whole food form. You don't have to get them in a juice. In a juice, you just have the sugar without the antioxidants, without the pectin, without the fiber. The other thing that you can always do, of course, is use an actual dried form, some kind of green juice powder, anything like that that's going to give you the opportunity to get the vitamins and minerals that are going to help your liver out, but without the sugar that's contributing to a non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So as always, make sure you're keeping it locked in here on SixPackAbs.com. If you have ideas for future videos surrounding the world of fat loss, muscle growth, and of course detoxing, make sure you put them down in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next video.